Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the live chat. We should be live. We should be rocking. We should be going. Hello. It is so good to see everyone. Hopefully, my connection's good. Hopefully, my audio is good. It has been I've been having some weird internet issues. For anyone that's followed me for a while, this is nothing new, but hopefully everything's live and good to go. All right, everyone, we have a lot to talk about today, like a lot. So really quick off the top, what are some of the things we can discuss today? Well, the biggest news, of course, of all is going to be both PlayStation and Xbox have reported their financial reports for the first 3 months of the year. So we have updates on PlayStation 5 console sales. We have updates on tons of stuff in the PlayStation business, including, PlayStation Plus subscribers, digital percentages, etc., etc. I'm sure there's a bunch of questions and things we can dig out of there. Also, Xbox had its best first 3 months of the year since they started reporting gaming as its own separate revenue stream. So it's a record quarter for Xbox as well. Tons of good stuff in there we can dig out. And then, of course, this morning, reviews for Returnal have released, and they are very positive. Very, very positive. Last I looked, it was at like an 86 on Metacritic. That is great for a new IP, for a game that I think some people were unsure of. These are very strong, very, very good scores. So we can break down that. What are we expecting for sales? What are we expecting? Will the reviews elevate things? We can go into all of that. The way this works, if you're brand new, if this is your first time ever being part of my live chat, because my Twitter keeps just going up, thank you so much for the support. If you're new here, the way this works, this stream, it's 100% driven by you, by your comments, your questions. So just start dropping them down into chat, and I get to as many as possible. Now, there's going to be two ways to do that. First of all, of course, there is the free method. You just type a question, drop it into chat, and I get to as many of the free ones as I possibly can. However, if you want to 100% guarantee that I get to your question, the way to do that is going to be super chats. Now, don't feel obligated, don't feel pressured to donate in chat, but that is an option there to make sure that I 100% get to your question. Just one other few housekeeping notes before we dive into chat, because there's already a ton of questions dropping, so I know we're going to have to get to a lot of good stuff today. First of all, I was on Seasoned Gaming for the industry perspectives, series that they're doing over there on Seasoned Gaming. You can go back and watch that if you want to. We kind of go into a little bit of my history, my plans for the future, and the video game industry in general. So you can go check that out over on Seasoned Gaming. And then also I am going to be on the Windows Central podcast coming up here real soon on the Xbox Chatter Days. So you can also catch me over there here on May 1st. All right, everyone, let's get into questions and let's get rocking, because I can see there's already a ton. Wait, let me give you an overview first. Sorry, one more thing. I promise this is the last thing before I get to your questions. I want to give a few key data points. That way, for anyone that hasn't seen the financial results, you have some context for the questions that you're going to drop. So first, really quick, let's go over Xbox. The main highlights are going to be overall gaming revenue was up by 50%, right? That's a big jump for overall revenue. Content and services grew by 34%. And then the main call outs that Microsoft made for that are going to be first and third party games, as well as, of course, what we talk about all the time, Game Pass subscriber growth. And then probably the craziest stat here, the craziest metric, is Xbox hardware revenue grew by 232% thanks to demand for Xbox Series X and S. So that's your main highlights for Xbox. They did $3.5 billion in revenue for this quarter. And then to dive into PlayStation a little bit, of course, 7.8 million PlayStation 5s have now been shipped as of the end of March. That's ahead of PlayStation 4 launch aligned, okay? So PS5 is still continuing to sell better than PlayStation 4. And then they're, had a record year, record profit. A few other things that might be worth noting is that Sony mentioned that they're expecting for this next fiscal year to have their games, their first party titles, generate more revenue than last year. And that's a pretty big deal because last year we had The Last of Us Part 2. We had Ghost of Tsushima. We have Spider-Man Miles Morales. So clearly Sony has some very big expectations for their first party games over the next year. And PlayStation Plus subscribers are now up to 47 million subs. Okay, everyone, we're good. We are rocking. Questions. Let's get rolling. Thank you, everyone who's in chat. All right, Ralph Muster here kicks it off with an 8 super chat. Thank you so much, Ralph, saying last chat was awesome. Looking forward to this one. Well, thank you so much, Ralph. As I say pretty much every week, I love these chats. They're my favorite things that I do. And I'm really glad to see so many other people are enjoying them as well. You know, I'm sure some of you are like me where, you know, in my everyday life, I don't have many friends that are just into video game sales and video game business, right? I can't just walk up and talk to them about this. So I love this stream because this gives us a cool place where we can all interact and talk about it. Thank you so much, Ralph. Plastic Hearts Podcast here with a 5. Benji Boy, very excited for Returnal and also excited to put the is it worth $70 debate to rest. Yes, so reviews are looking very, very strong. Like I mentioned, last I checked, I don't know if this has changed, but as of this morning, it was at an 86 on Metacritic. That is very solid, y'all. Very, very good. Keep in mind, Housemarque is not a studio that has a AAA pedigree and history. They're a studio that this is the first game ever that they had a dedicated narrative and story team on. So they've never tackled like a bigger story before like this with cinematics like this. They've never made a third-person shooter game before, so it's literally even a different genre. Like this is a completely different project for Housemarque than what they have typically made throughout all of their years. So to kind of hit a home run right off the bat, right? I mean, 86 meta is great. Wow, shout out to them. That is a big success. And most of the things that I'm seeing from reviewers were that this game is like, you know, a solid 30 hours or more for many of them. You know, it's going to vary, of course, for each person. But I'm seeing a lot of people say it took them like 30 hours. Yeah, it seems to be a full-fledged, you know, AAA experience. So shout out to Housemarque. And thank you, Plastic Hearts, for the super chat. Timmer72299 saying no question today. Just wanted to show my support. Thank you so much, Timmer. Thank you for being a part of every single chat. Hope you're doing well, Timmer, and thank you for the super chat. Plastic Hearts Podcast with your second super chat already at 10. Holy cow. Thank you, Plastic Hearts. Shiva Stream. Hey, Benji. Hope you're doing well. What impact do you think Microsoft's change to the revenue split on PC Store will have? What do you think Microsoft can do to stand alongside Epic Game Store and Steam? You know, this is an interesting question. So first of all, I want to say I think it's a great move, right? Basically, for anyone that missed it, Microsoft's not doing a 70% goes to developers on the Windows Store now. Now it's 80-something%. I would have to look off the top of my head. I'm forgetting. I think it might be 88 or something like that is going to developers. So in other words, if you're a dev, if you're a publisher and you put your game on the Windows Store, you're getting a bigger chunk of your money back and Microsoft's taking a smaller chunk back. Now, here's the thing. It's hard for me to ever envision a scenario where the Windows Store is going to be competitive with someone like Epic Game Store and especially Steam, right? Of the two, I would say Epic Game Store is going to be the one that they could maybe closer start to approach. But even then, you know, they've had so many issues with the Windows Store, you know, for, I mean, a long time, right? So many problems with installs, downloads, updates, etc., etc. People just don't like the interface compared to something like Steam. So here's the thing. Do I think this is a good thing? Yeah, it's great, right? This is really, really good to see for developers. I would love to see even more of this across the board, right? Steam, for example, to give back a bigger chunk. But can they be competitive? You know, that is a lot harder to say, especially with Steam, right? So many PC gamers are locked into Steam that put it this way, it's a major uphill climb. Clearly, Microsoft's investing heavily into PC. Clearly, they're taking PC gaming seriously. So I don't want to never say never, right? I don't want to say, oh, the Windows Store can never be a successful thing. But it's going to be a long haul, right? It's going to take quite some time before they can be competitive with places like that. Thank you for the super chat. Super chat's pouring in, y'all. Thank you so much. JCat with a 10. Hello, JCat. Great to see you. Shout out to JCat. Shout out to Split End moderating the chat. Thank you so much. And also, really quick, also shout out to Split End. Shuhei Yoshida from PlayStation retweeted Split End's review. So shout out to Split End, and you can catch his review over on Gaming Trend. So if you want to see his review for Returnal, Split End did an awesome write-up over there, and it's pretty sweet that Shuhei Yoshida gave him a shout out as well. JCat here with the 10. There's a rumor that Starfield, Forza Horizon, and Halo Infinite could all release at the end of this year. Given Microsoft's Game Pass model, wouldn't it be smarter to spread them out a few months apart? Thoughts? Here's the thing. So, personally, and I talked about this a bit on the Seasoned Gaming chat, I believe Microsoft's long-term goal, not like in the next 6 months, right? This is going to take some time. But I personally believe that Microsoft's long-term goal with Game Pass is to have a new game, a Microsoft-related game hitting Game Pass every single month of the year. And why do I think that? Because that's what subscription services require. If you want heavy investment, huge subscription numbers like we see with Disney Plus and Netflix and things like that, you can't have, once every 6 months something's hitting. I mean, it needs to be, boom, constant. Netflix is at the point now, they have new series and new movies not hitting monthly. It's every single week. Netflix original content, right? Now, clearly to ramp up to that will take quite some time. They're at 23 studios. Some of those studios have multiple teams even. So trust me, once all these studios start hitting, you're going to see a lot. However, it will take time to get there, right? Probably eventually, the more near-term goal they can expect is a game every quarter, right? Maybe every 3 months. Then after that, maybe you get to bi-monthly, right? Every other month. But I think eventually they want an Xbox Studios game of some kind. Maybe not the biggest, most giant AAA Halo Infinites of the world, but some sort of Microsoft Studios game hitting that service every single month. I truly believe they eventually want to be there. However, first of all, if you can get all three of these games out this year, yeah, you definitely do it, especially because the drought Microsoft has had in the front half of this generation, right? Of the first year, I should say, not of the whole gen, it's just starting, but of the first year of the first gen. People have been talking extensively about, yeah, Game Pass is amazing. Yes, their hardware is very good. Yes, their services seem to be, outstanding. But where's the games, right? Microsoft Studios themselves have still yet to release a brand new Series X and Series S title. There's been lots of updates, but we haven't gotten those brand new experiences that people crave. So if you can get these three out, yeah, you push them out the door. However, the one thing I will say that's a bit unfortunate in this situation, and it's not the end of the world by any means, but it's that if this is true, it's a bit of a bummer to me that Halo Infinite and Starfield are both going to be so close to one another just because these are both sci-fi, space futuristic titles. Now they're going to play way different. Halo is a first-person shooter. It's, really about being an FPS, about multiplayer. Campaign's a big deal as well, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it is a straight-up shooter. Whereas Starfield is going to be an RPG, right? This is from the team that gave you Fallout. It's the team that gave you Skyrim. So it's going to be that big, giant RPG experiences. So genre-wise, yes, they are not the same at all. However, it is a bit of a bummer that two of the three potentially flagship games for Microsoft this year both fall into that sci-fi space. I think it would have been a little bit, just worked out a little bit better maybe if it was three different feeling, like even genre things. But trust me, it's not the end of the world. Halo Infinite, if this all happens, Halo's going to be gigantic, Starfield's going to be gigantic, and Forza Horizon 5 would also be gigantic, y'all. Forza Horizon 4 has over 24 million players lifetime. Forza Horizon 5 would also be giant. So I don't think they would really cannibalize each other, even if they all hit within a month or two of each other. I really don't think so. But the one bummer I would say there is that it's two sci-fi games potentially so close to one another. But if I'm Microsoft, if you can get those out the door, you get them out the door, right? Thank you for the super chat, JCat. Vertical 21 with a 20. Holy cow, Vertical 21. Thank you so much. That's a big super chat. Thank you. Have you had a chance to try out Airlink? Been playing Alex and it works flawlessly. Could you see HTC and Valve make their own standalone headsets? Drooling over a standalone Index with its controllers. Wireless VR is the end game. Vertical 21, I have not tried Airlink yet. I have an Oculus Quest 2. I have not experienced the Airlink yet. However, Vertical, I completely agree with what you're saying, that wireless is the end goal for VR. I mean, it truly is, okay? It makes such a big difference. As somebody that has a PSVR and then has also had Oculus Quest 1 and 2, clearly, you know, Quest has a bunch of advantages over the PSVR headset. But honestly speaking, I think the biggest might be getting rid of that cable, right? I mean, it's so annoying having that cable there. Wireless is a game changer. So vertical, Valve specifically, yes. I think you will see Valve have some sort of wireless VR headset eventually. Valve is committed in the long haul for VR. This is not just like a flash in the pan for them. The big question here for me, Vertical 21, is PSVR 2 going to have some sort of wireless option? You know, especially as technology is getting better with wirelessly connecting them even to another machine, right? Not even just being a standalone set like Quest is, but also now being able to tether your Quest to your PC wirelessly, and it worked pretty darn good from everything that I'm hearing. I wonder if PSVR 2 will have some sort of option. Now, they have mentioned, I believe, one cable, so clearly there's going to be some kind of cable, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. But I think to truly break out 90% of VR market, you need wireless. I'm telling you, wireless, I agree, Vertical, it's a big deal. Will you see Valve do it? Yes. You are going to see some sort of wireless Valve headset eventually. I don't know if it's right around the corner, but I agree with you that it's a game changer for VR big time, big time. Really helps with immersion, right? Helps with immersion, helps with room scale playing. You don't have any tug. You don't feel connected to everything. Eventually, the headset almost melts away, right? And you don't even feel like you're wearing one. So thank you, Vertical. Thank you for that super chat. Anthony Johnson here with a 5. Fantastic job on Season Gaming's podcast. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that chat. It was a great chat. Bunch of positive vibes. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. My question, is there a reason why companies generally report success by units rather than by revenue? You know, it really just depends, because some go by units, some go by revenue. Everyone's kind of got their own thing, right? For example, if you see Microsoft, they rarely talk about sales units nowadays, and I don't think that's ever going to change. Even if Xbox Series X and S go on to become just colossal successes in sales, right? Even if they did, let's say something crazy, right? Let's say it even sold 100 million units. I'm not necessarily predicting that, but what if they did? I think you would get like milestones occasionally from them, but I really don't think you would see like what Sony does, them just reporting every single quarter, hey, we sold this many units this quarter, we sold this many units this quarter. Because for Microsoft, it's not really about units anymore, right? Even with games, it's not just about sales. For them, it's all about their ecosystem. It's about reaching as many players as possible, getting as many people to play your games as possible. That's why when you see Microsoft, they never mention sales units for their games anymore, but they do talk a lot. I mean, almost all their big games, they give updated player counts. Because for them, it's all about players now, because players ties into Game Pass, it ties into xCloud, it ties into just overall reach. But then you see other companies, Anthony, like Sony in particular, they do mention revenue, but they also do talk a lot about units still, right? They talk about unit sales on games. They talk about every single quarter how many units they've shipped of their consoles. Nintendo's also in a similar boat. So it really just depends, right? It really depends on the company. Microsoft's more about revenue and total players. So everyone's going to look at it a little bit different. It kind of depends on your business model, right? For Sony, they're still about selling those games. They're not really in the same business that Microsoft is with total players, right? Because they don't really have an xCloud equivalent yet in terms of like being able to stream on mobile devices very easily. Yes, I know they have PS Now, but Microsoft's goal for xCloud right now is clearly more ambitious than what Sony is doing with PS Now. I think that will change in the future, but Microsoft is a little bit more forward thinking than them at the moment in terms of getting xCloud as many places as possible, getting Game Pass on PC and their games everywhere. You get what I'm saying? So Sony, it's still about, hey, can we sell 10 or 15 million units of Spider-Man and The Last of Us? Like, that's what's important to us. So it's just going to vary. It's just going to vary depending on your business model. But revenue and profit is still the most important metric, right? Don't get me wrong, players are important. Don't get me wrong, units are important. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is how much money are you generating and how profitable is that business. That is still, of course, like anything else, going to be the most important final statistic. Thank you for that super chat. Big Fresh 37 with a $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Big Fresh. Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis finally has a release month. Is it going to be big? I'm very excited by it, but most people seem confused right now that it's a new game, not an expansion. Tell me it's going to be okay. Big Fresh, here's the thing. If they want it to be a breakout success, Microsoft needs to get more heavily behind that in marketing, right? It's kind of a big deal, actually, that Phantasy Star Online 2 is coming to Xbox. In fact, whenever they announced it, Microsoft kind of made a bit of a big deal about it. But I'll be honest, I haven't seen like a ton of marketing push since that like original announcement. Now with Xbox not having Final Fantasy 14, here's a chance for them to get, a Japanese MMO on their platform. So if I was Microsoft, I would start pushing some marketing behind this, right? Like you said, it didn't have a flat out release month for a long time. So maybe they were just being a little cautious, waiting until more information was out there, waiting till we were closer to launch. But I agree, Big Fresh. I think they should start talking about this, right? Right now, for me, like overall buzz online feels very low, right? Kind of like you said, most people seem confused by it. I'm not saying like a ton of hype online, but there is a potential, right? And we're just going to say a potential that they could find a bit of a breakout here with them having, like I said, no Final Fantasy 14. This is your chance, Microsoft, to be like, hey, here's our Japanese MMO online style game. This is the one, right? They don't have Genshin Impact either, which I know isn't Japanese. That's Chinese game. But Sony kind of has more of this market, right? They've got the Final Fantasy, online games. They've got the Genshin Impacts. This is a chance for Microsoft to kind of have their own feel for that. So they should. Yeah, they should start marketing it. I think so. All right, Benji here with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Benji. Good to see you. Hi, Benji. Rumors of Halo, Forza Horizon, and Starfield for 2021. If we had the rumored Battlefield 6 on Game Pass, can Microsoft win the holidays in the US? Benji, I'm going to flat out tell you, yes, they can. Now, wait, maybe this is going to sound surprising to some of you that don't look at, the monthly NPD charts like super hardcore. Why do I say yes, it could happen? Because Microsoft has outsold Sony even in the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 era occasionally during those holiday months, right? We've seen some times that Xbox has had a better November or a better December. Like even with the Xbox One, which was, as we all know, not the greatest success, worldwide. They, particularly during holidays, were extremely competitive, even this last generation with PlayStation in the US, right? I'm speaking strictly of the US here. Now, does that mean it's a lock? By no means does it mean it's a lock, right? Is that me predicting for you, oh, Xbox is going to outsell PlayStation 5 this holiday? I'm not saying that. But can they? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely it's in play. It wouldn't even be the first time we've seen them beat them in a holiday month, right? So yeah, it's in play. We need to see how good Halo is. We need to see how good Forza Horizon is and Starfield, and if Battlefield 6 is like excellent and on Game Pass, right? There's a lot of factors that are going to go into this. How many consoles can they make, right? That's the big challenge right now for both PlayStation and Xbox, is just getting units out the door. So there's a lot of things that have to go right, but can it happen? Oh yeah, Benji, it absolutely can happen. Worldwide, I would not predict that. Even if everything's a success, I would still pick PlayStation to outsell Xbox this holiday globally, just because Sony has such a more worldwide appeal in so many more markets than Microsoft does. But the US is in play. Yeah, US is going to be a battle for sure. Split End 89, thank you so much, Split End, with a 2 super chat. Best mod in the business. Sony investing a lot in first party, 183 million and more. Spot on, Split End. So one thing that we got out of the financial results for PlayStation and Sony is, yeah, they're investing even more heavily into first party than they have been, right? And this is a big deal because, as I've been saying for a while, I started saying this, 2-3 years ago. Moving forward, exclusive content is going to become more and more important than at any time it has ever been in the video game industry. And the reason for that is the same reason it's so important for Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, etc., Amazon Prime. Now, I know people get sick of hearing about subscriptions, right? And they get sick of hearing about comparisons to other businesses that aren't gaming. But the overlap here is that subscriptions are becoming a big deal, okay? Not even just Game Pass, also PS Now, also PlayStation Plus. Like, subscriptions in general, an ecosystem in general, are just becoming more and more and more and more important with time. And the way you get those people into your subscriptions, into your ecosystems, is through exclusive content. So yeah, them investing more is important. It's very, very good. I believe, I've mentioned it here on this chat, that Sony is trying to position their studios to have 2 games in development. Now, does that mean every single studio is going to have simultaneously 2 games going? Definitely not, right? There's going to be some that cannot manage that. There's going to be some, they have to stick to 1 game. They just don't have the head count. They just don't have, the resources, etc., whatever, to go into multiple game development. But you're already seeing signs it's exactly what Sony Santa Monica is doing, right? They have their God of War game currently in development. They also now, it clearly looks like, have a Cory Barlog-led new IP baking in the oven and just starting up development over there. You have Insomniac, which is already a multi-game studio. You have Naughty Dog, which we now know is working on multiple projects. They're working on The Last of Us remake. They are working on the multiplayer The Last of Us game. And also, their 3rd game is in pre-production, right? We don't exactly know what game that is. Is it The Last of Us Part 3? Is it a new IP? Who knows? They're brainstorming. They're in pre-production right now on something else as well. So you see the Naughty Dog kind of moving into multi-game development. Guerrilla, we know Horizon's in development. There's been rumblings and things that indicate possibly a first-person shooter. So clearly Sony is getting a lot of their teams kind of positioned. Can we start to tackle multiple games for some of these studios? And that to me makes perfect sense. Why? Because when you only have 1 game, right? When you only have 1 per studio, that studio is going to take a minimum of 3 years to get that game out, and oftentimes 4 or more. So if that is the setup you have, you get into a scenario that a studio might get 1 or 2 games at best out per generation, right? That's just simply not enough output. It's just not going to be enough output moving forward as gamers' demands continue to grow, as more and more people get into consoles and want more games, want more new experiences. When you want to feed those subscriptions, you need more than a studio pumping out, hey, you're going to get 1, maybe 2 games per generation from them. No, we need a little bit faster output than that. And the way to do that is multi-game, multi-team. And I think a lot of their teams are gearing that way. Again, I would not count on every single team doing this. For example, I think it's probably pretty unlikely that Sucker Punch has multiple games. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm guessing they're focused right now on just the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. But some of these teams, yeah, you're going to start to see 2 games, coming from them at a time. Joseki with a 2 super chat. Prediction for a Xenoblade this fiscal year. 2 sold 2+ million. Yeah, isn't there rumblings that there is a new Xenoblade coming? Yeah, I would expect a multi-million unit seller, right? It's really impressive how the Xenoblade franchise went from being really niche, right? In fact, it didn't even come out in the West for like a long time, right? That game was like Japanese only for a while. There was like a bunch of like fans begging this game to come to the US, to come to the West. It eventually did. And even when it came to the West, it was like an okay success, but it was really Xenoblade 2, right? That kind of took that franchise and made it much more of a mainstream JRPG. So, because, you know, Xenoblade Chronicles X also wasn't like this giant seller. It was really Xenoblade 2 that took that franchise more mainstream. I would think a new Xenoblade would do very well. I see some people saying that this game is apparently Xenoblade Chronicles X2. That I'm actually a little like, I don't think that would sell as well as Xenoblade 3. And yeah, I know that they're similar and things like that, but I just don't think so. I think a Xenoblade 3 would sell better than a Chronicles X2. But either way, I would expect multi-million unit seller, yeah. Just like, yeah, I think it could be another 2 million seller, something like that. It's a JRPG franchise that's growing, you know, and 2 million might not sound big for some of you, right? We're used to hearing these crazy numbers for things like Spider-Man's and God of Wars and things like that. But keep in mind, JRPG is a much smaller, you know, genre. That genre in general, unless you're like Final Fantasy, you're not hitting, or Dragon Quest, you're not hitting like crazy numbers, right? Even Persona 5, which is a huge success, was only like 3.5 million before you get to like Persona 5 Royal and things like that. So, you know, it's a genre that's not typically selling 10 million units. So 2 million for Xenoblade's really good. All right. I think we only have 2 more super chats here, and they are clear. Thank you so much, everyone. That's a ton of super chats today. Vertical 21 with your second super chat at 10. Holy cow. Thank you, Vertical. Okay, another VR thought. Quest 2 is super massive. Yes, it is. It's selling shockingly well. And Resident Evil 4 is exclusive to it. Feels like Oculus will phase out Rift S pretty soon, right? With both Link and USB and Air, it already feels irrelevant. Yes. You know, Oculus and Facebook have made it very clear the future of VR to them is Quest, okay? That's why they're not even making any wired headsets right now. Like, they're not even in that business. Will they keep supporting them? Yes. You know, you're going to still see support around it. But yes, their focus as a company is Quest, right? Whether that's going to be Quest 3, Quest 4, whatever. Oculus Quest has been by far the biggest breakout that VR's really ever seen into the mainstream. And people are going to say PSVR. Y'all, Quest 2 is selling faster than PlayStation VR. It really is. Now, is the overall install base as big yet? Hard to know because we haven't gotten that number from Oculus. But in terms of rate of speed of sales, Quest 2 is doing incredible, okay? So, yeah, I wouldn't expect to see them throw a ton of support behind wired experiences moving forward. In fact, like their exclusive games, all that sort of stuff, it's really designed for Quest, right? Remember when Quest 2 was announced and they got that Assassin's Creed and that Splinter Cell announcement? They were announced for Quest, right? Quest is clearly their focus. And thank you, Vertical 21, for that super chat. Joseki here with a 2 super chat. The Miitopia hype online is big. Yeah, it's ridiculous. The Me posts. Thank you for your second super chat. And for anyone that missed it, Miitopia was trending like crazy, okay? And the reason it was trending is because the character creator for it, the Mies, is like insane. I saw people making Garfield. I saw all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah, trended huge. I'm curious to see what that will translate into, like, you know, sales and things like that. But pretty crazy to see how Miitopia just straight trended on Twitter like crazy amounts. It was a big, yeah, blew up. Kieran Buckley here with a 5. Hi, Benji. Which do you think will be the 5 best-selling games of this year? Okay, I like that you put this second part here because my answer was going to be really boring. But you adding this makes it more interesting. So Kieran, it says, what are going to be the 5 best-selling games of the year that are not the usual Call of Duty, FIFA, and Madden, right? So we're going to eliminate sports games. We're going to eliminate Call of Duty, the stuff that we all know is going to be just cranked up near the top. Okay, 5 best-selling of the year. This is a little tough because we know that Nintendo has multiple games for this year that are not announced, okay? And the main reason we know that is a report that came out of Bloomberg where they were saying that, there's a whole bunch of Nintendo projects that are in the works, some of them hitting this year that have not been announced yet. So you always have to throw a wild card of who knows what Nintendo is going to bring to the table, right? They don't have a ton of games announced right now that are hitting in the end of the year, right? We still don't know really what their holiday lineup's going to be. And Nintendo, listen, whether you love them, whether you hate them, their games for the Switch sell absurd numbers. So there's going to be something Nintendo probably in there. Is that going to be the Diamond and Pearl remakes for Pokemon? Potentially. Pokemon's pretty darn huge. So keep Pokemon in mind as a potential there. Battlefield. Battlefield's going to be really big this year, I think, y'all, even if it's next gen only. All the rumblings that are coming out behind the scenes, from insider people, and when I say insider people, I mean people that are known for those franchises, not like random insiders. I'm talking people that have Call of Duty and that have Battlefield leaks very consistently. The rumblings that are coming out is that the new Battlefield sounds insane, okay? That's literally the word on the street, is that the new Battlefield is going to blow people away. The other thing on that is that there's a lot of rumblings that this year's Call of Duty is a bit of a disaster behind the scenes, okay? In fact, one of the newest rumors that came out is the state of the game is so bad that Activision's already implementing a basically like save the game road to recovery roadmap, and this game's not even announced yet. Like, that's how bad of a state it's in. These are the rumblings, okay? This is going to be a year that if Battlefield's as good as the rumblings are and Call of Duty's as bad as the rumblings are, don't be surprised to see Battlefield be a juggernaut this year. Does that mean I predict it to outsell Call of Duty? I'm not necessarily saying that, but the potential is there for Battlefield to be very, very successful this year. So I'm going to put Battlefield in there. I'm going to say a real wild card for me is Halo. Halo absolutely has potential to be in there, but at the same time, how much is Game Pass going to pull away from regular sales? So Halo is one that it's hard for me to say. Put it this way, there's no doubt in my mind Halo is going to be one of the biggest games of the year in terms of player counts. It's going to be huge, y'all. It's going to be on PC. It's going to be on Game Pass. It's going to be on Xbox One. It's going to be on Xbox Series X and S. The multiplayer is free to play. We just found out that Halo Master Chief Collection has hit 10 million players on PC, and that didn't come out on PC until December 2019, y'all. So that's only slightly over a year. It did 10 plus million players on PC. So Infinite's going to be a juggernaut as well, right? So that's one. Who knows, though, how much Game Pass hurts its sales. And let me think, what else? Ratchet's going to be interesting to watch. That's one I think can hit 10 million. I don't think this year. I think Lifetime, though, can hit 10 million. I think it's going to be the biggest Ratchet game. I don't know, though, that that's going to be big enough to get to top 5, not counting sports and everything, right? Clearly, most of these games I'm mentioning are going to be outsold by FIFAs and Maddens and Call of Duties. So that's a few off the top of my head that play in there. There's gonna be something Nintendo, whether that's Diamond and Pearl remakes or something else they have cooking. Something Nintendo's in there. Battlefield, Halo, Starfield has bad potential. And Horizon. How could I forget Horizon? 100% Horizon. If Horizon's this year, Horizon will be in there. Horizon Forbidden West will be in there as long as it makes this year. And I would say as long as it's by November. If this game hits in December, that might be a little tough because even though the launch will be gigantic, it's going to be huge. If it's December, that only gives you 1 month, right? But if it's November, I think it definitely can do it for sure. And that's just a few, okay? I don't want to give too long of an answer, but it was a fun question. Thanks, everyone. The stream turnout's been really, really good today. Thank you, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the chat. A super chat here, a 5 from Benji. Benji, why were investors expecting even more from Sony according to Bloomberg? They had a record year all around, right? Here's the thing. So investors' expectations are all over the place with everything, right? I'll be honest, even though I cover a lot of business, a lot of sales, a lot of things like that, I'm not one of these guys that's out there giving investment advice, right? You never see me do that kind of thing. You never see me go out there and give like financial advice like, hey, buy this stock, buy this. I consider myself more of like a data analyst than a financial analyst, right? They are actually a bit of two different things. Don't get me wrong, there's a ton of overlap there. I still do pay attention to things like how much revenue and how much profit and things like that are being generated, but I'm actually like way more interested in like the data behind it in terms of how many subscribers do you got? How many units of this game did you sell? How many players do you have? Like how many consoles have you sold? Like the data side of it is the thing that I'm more focused on, less so the financial, like strictly finance and making money side. So you would have to ask someone that's way more clued into that about exactly why their expectations were so through the roof for the company as a whole. But here's the thing. The PlayStation business itself is doing extraordinarily well. I can't speak for Sony's other businesses at all because I pay zero, and I mean zero attention to that, okay? And movies. I pay attention to their movie business too. I pay attention to their movies and I pay attention to their video games. So what were they expecting out of TV? What were they expecting out of Sony Music? Like, I can't speak to this stuff at all. I have literally zero knowledge about it. But the PlayStation business itself is doing excellent. The only knock I could potentially see that maybe if you're an investor you might have on Sony in terms of the PlayStation side is you might be a little underwhelmed at potentially how much of a hit they're taking on hardware profit margins, okay? All indications are that they're losing a hefty sum on each one of these PS5s sold. Keep in mind, we already knew that for the first quarter that PlayStation 5 came out. Here we are a quarter later, right? This ended at the end of March, and we know they're still losing money on PS5. Each PS5 that's sold is selling at a loss still. Now, they did mention that looking forward into the next fiscal year, Sony does plan to improve those profit margins. So I think they're going to either get to the black or at least much closer to the black or potentially even slightly profitable on hardware over the next year. But as of now, they're still taking a hit. They're still taking a loss on every PS5 sold. So maybe if you're an investor, you're a little underwhelmed at the profit margin on PS5 consoles. But other than that, their PlayStation business is doing amazing. Yeah, it's doing really, really well. I mean, it was their best year, right? They had their best year for PlayStation. Okay, super chats are cleared for the first time in this chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for the tons of super chats. Holy cow. Let me get to some free questions. Elias Stapleton. The first thing Housemarque said in his website for the release of the game is thanks Sony for making the risk, for giving us this opportunity. It was definitely a risk for Sony and a risk for Housemarque. Sony is taking big risks and is paying off good. Yeah, there's no doubt, Elias, that Returnal is a big risk, okay? Why is Returnal a big risk? For literally several reasons. First of all, Housemarque has never made a AAA game until now. This is their first AAA game. So you're funding, if you're Sony, you're funding a dev with a AAA budget that has never done it. I mean, that alone is a risk, okay? Literally just doing that's a risk. Then you have the combination that Housemarque's recent games have not sold well. That's just the facts. In fact, in the statement that I think it was the president of the company put out today, he himself even said, like, they were worried that they could potentially go out of business if they didn't make radical changes because their recent games weren't selling well. So you have a dev that has no AAA experience. You have a dev that recent games have not been sales successes. And then you also have them tackling a genre that's not exactly known as being a huge seller, right? And doing this roguelike game. Now, some of them have broke out, right? You have a game like Hades, for example, that was a huge success. But by and large, these games aren't like your biggest giant sellers on the market. So there is no doubt that Sony took a big risk on this one. It's good to see the qualities there. Now I just want to see the game sell. Hopefully it has really good sales numbers and it'll be a great result for both Housemarque and Sony. But yeah, shout out to them. It was risky, okay? This was not a sure bet by any means. Eber Romero. Sony is spending a lot in exclusives, internal and external. The multiplayer new IP, the Jade Raymond new IP, the Final Fantasy 16 exclusive, Forspoken exclusive, Rumored Remedy exclusive, and possibly more exclusives in the making with third-party partners. What do you think this $183 million means for Sony in terms of third-party exclusives? Final Fantasy VII Part 2 could be exclusive. So here's the thing. I believe, and I apologize if I am wrong, okay? I'd have to go back and read it. But I believe the $183 million mentioned is strictly first party, okay? So that's not going to count third party games, as far as I understand, and I completely apologize if this is wrong information, okay? But I believe the specific 183 million number was only talking about first party investment, right? So in their own studios. So here's the thing. If that is true, if I'm remembering correctly, that's not going to affect necessarily third-party deals, right? There could be even more than that that's coming with third-party. Will Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 be exclusive? I think so. Yeah, I really think it's going to be timed exclusive again. They did it for the first game. That was successful for Sony. They made Final Fantasy 16 a timed exclusive. I think they're going to try and do the exact same thing with Part 2, okay? The only way I think that game isn't timed exclusive is if Microsoft throws some money, okay? Someone's going to have to throw some money at Square Enix on this one, whether it's going to be Sony or whether it's going to be Microsoft, right? Microsoft comes with a huge bag of cash. They're not going to get it exclusive, so I'm not saying that. But maybe they throw a huge bag of cash at them and are like, listen, just put the game on our system and we will do some kind of marketing for you, or we'll do some kind of Game Pass deal or something, right? Unless Microsoft opens that checkbook, I think it does go timed exclusive to PlayStation, yeah. Yeah, but that's not going to be for years, okay? Remake 2 is not going to be out for years and years. I don't expect that game for another 3 or 4 years at minimum. Hammersley Ford. Thoughts on Forza Horizon 5 Mexico rumors? Did you see the last tweet from Jez Corden, the emoji one? Yeah, so all the reports seem to be that Forza Horizon 5 is going to Mexico. I have zero inside information on this, okay? This isn't me telling you it's going to be Mexico, but Jeff Grubb has heavily hinted towards Mexico, and so has Jez Corden, right? And both of them are very reliable with this stuff, particularly Jez when it comes to Microsoft, right? Jez is going to know his stuff when it comes to covering Xbox and Microsoft. So I tend to believe this rumor. I believe Coblerisle, I don't know how to say his name, and I apologize, also hinted at this. I'll tell you what, Mexico wasn't my first choice. My first choice was Japan, right? I think like a lot of people, I would love to see a Forza Horizon game in Japan. I just think you could do so much cool stuff there with night racing in the city, right? You could do some amazing things. However, I'll tell you what, Mexico is actually a brilliant choice in terms of business. And why do I say that? Because Mexico has traditionally been a hotspot for Xbox. Gears of War in particular has been huge in Mexico. Halo has been very popular in Mexico. The Xbox brand in general, Mexico is one of those markets that actually really likes Xbox, right? We always talk about the UK and we talk about the US being like Microsoft's strongest markets. And while that is true, there are some other markets where they're also successful. And Mexico has been one of those. So I'll tell you what, putting Forza Horizon 5 there in terms of like a business and like a marketing, that's really smart. I doubt it was only for that reason. I'm sure Playground also thinks that it's just like an awesome area. They can do a lot of cool stuff there. But it also, I think it could be very big. Yeah, I think Mexico could go very, very well for them. And here's the thing. Part of the draw of Forza Horizon when you're playing it, yes, it's like the amazing scenery and things like that, but for a lot of people, it's also like the festival and music feel. And what a better place than Mexico, right? Mexico is known for having amazing culture, all kinds of awesome, regional music. So yeah, they could make Mexico a very cool setting. No doubt about it. No doubt. Jim Ryan, this is from Split End. Jim Ryan said the other day they would let the games do the talking. You can definitely do that when you invest like they did with Returnal. How much further will they take this philosophy? Big time, right? Sony themselves like flat out stated that, in fact, Jim Ryan, right? He just said this the other day. In fact, it was basically the thumbnail, I think, of my last video, that there's going to be supposedly more exclusives on PlayStation 5 than even was on PlayStation 4. And PlayStation 4 was known for its exclusives. So clearly, yeah, Sony is really believing in their first party output and those games they put that PlayStation Studios logo on. So you're going to see some pretty incredible things from them. Yeah, I mean, how nuts does Ratchet and Clank look, right? We have a state of play for that later today. That game looks insane visually, and this is the beginning of the generation, right? We're literally not even a year into the gen yet. Yeah, you're going to see some amazing things from PlayStation Studios this gen. There's just no doubt. Joseph Crank here. The Last of Us Part 2 won 8 awards yesterday, I think, at the GANG Awards. Game of the Year Tracker website. The Last of Us Part 2 is the most awarded game ever. Do you think Naughty Dog is at the level of Rockstar? And do you think Neil will direct their new IP? The Twitter profile Neil Druckmann said directing a future video game. Thoughts on this? So, couple things. In terms of like just sheer market, no, they're not at the level of Rockstar, right? And this is just talking about, you know, the business, right? Selling games, being just gigantic. Their games are big. Do not get me wrong. Naughty Dog is very big. Are they Rockstar? No. However, in terms of quality, and this is going to vary hugely among the audience, right? There are people that hate The Last of Us Part 2. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you, oh, you must love The Last of Us Part 2. But if we're speaking in terms of critics, right? Critical reception, Naughty Dog is definitely at the level of a Rockstar, right? Maybe you would edge Rockstar just a little bit higher, right? Maybe just slightly, but it would be barely, right? Naughty Dog is seen, at least within the industry, as one of the world's most premier studios for quality. And again, I realize some of you hate The Last of Us Part 2. Totally understand that. I'm talking about critical reception. So here's the thing. There's a reason that Sony gives Naughty Dog so much leeway, allows them to kind of run the show however they want from all reports. There's a reason for that, right? Is Neil Druckmann directing a new IP? We don't know. And in fact, Neil kind of said himself that he doesn't know. He just did an interview recently where he mentioned The Last of Us Part 3 has a story outline, but it's not actually in development. I actually think Naughty Dog themselves, and I could be wrong here, I don't know that they have their next game in full production. I think they're in pre-production, not counting the multiplayer game and not counting the remake. So I think they're still toying with ideas, right? If they go Part 3 right now, if they wait on Part 3 and do a new IP. But either way, Neil Druckmann will be directing that game. Yes. I mean, he has to be, right? Because he's done with Part 2. You know, I don't think he would be like heavily directing the remake. I mean, he might be giving some insight into the remake, but you're just remaking a game. So he needs to be doing something. So whatever that is, whether it's Part 3 or a new IP, Neil Druckmann will be the director. Yeah, for sure. Sounds PP7. Oh, I'm getting an error on YouTube. Hopefully everything's okay. I'm getting buffering. I apologize. Hopefully the stream's still live. If it crashes, we may have to call chat. I don't want to, but I am getting warnings that my internet is out of control. I'm going to try and power through it, but we may have to close chat early. We're going to see. Sounds PP7. Assuming sales are solid, what do you expect out of Returnal in terms of long-term support or DLC? And what would your prediction be for Housemarque's next project? Well, if this sells well, I think you'll see another Returnal game, right? Because here's the thing. If Returnal's a big success, this would be like the studio's first big success in quite some time. So I think they would want to capitalize on that. Now, I've not played Returnal. Narratively, I have no idea if a sequel makes sense. Literally no idea. But I would be surprised if they boxed themselves into a scenario they could not make any kind of sequel to this. But we'll have to see, okay? I could see a potential sequel, but this is without knowing how it ends, okay? Maybe they completely close it off. There's no chance for another game in this universe. It's done. But my bet would be if it's a success, they go directly into Returnal 2. Will there be long-term support or DLC? You know, here's the thing. It appears that Sony does not force their studios to do that. Okay. God of War had no DLC for it. The Last of Us Part 2, Jason Schreier reported at one time they were looking at possibly doing DLC for that, but it doesn't look like they're going to moving forward, at least in terms of like a big story player DLC. So I think they would actually leave that up to Housemarque. You might see small DLCs, right? You might see like new modes or something like that, but like a beefy DLC, Sony kind of leaves some freedom up to that. So I would say that's up in the air. Yeah, just remains to be seen. Let me make sure I haven't missed any super chats. I just want to make sure. It's been a little while. Oh, JCat with the poop emoji. 99-cent poop emoji from JCat. My goodness, that is hilarious. And then Matt Duffy here with a 2 super chat. Thank you so much, Matt Duffy, and giving me my MMA question of the chat. Love to see it. Don't worry if you're here for video game news. I will be quick on the MMA stuff. Benji, prediction for Usman Covington 2. God bless. Thank you so much, Matt. So first of all, how insane did Usman look in the second Masvidal fight? I mean, that knockout, man, that was incredible, right? That right hand he threw, I think it was a right, if I'm remembering right, like a right straight cross. That would have knocked out a horse, right? I mean, that thing was a freaking bullet. And I did not expect that, right? I thought Usman was going to win. I picked him, whenever I got asked that on one of the chats. I was picking Usman, and I thought maybe he could get a finish. I predicted a decision, but I thought maybe he could get a finish. But I thought it would be like the ground and pound and like later in the fight, a second round knockout. Whew. My prediction, Usman knocks Covington out, right? He knocked him out in the first fight and TKO. And he looks even better now than he did back then. Shout out to Covington if he can manage to even make it, more competitive than the first, because the first was a war. But I would pick Usman by knockout. Yeah, that's my prediction. Kamaru Usman knockout. I don't think it'll be as quick as Jorge, because I think Covington will try to wrestle him. But I would pick like a maybe 3rd or 4th round KO for Usman. All right, back to some video game questions. Travel Peck, thank you for a great turnout today, everyone. We've been over 100 in chat for a while. Thank you. Thank you. It's been a great turnout today. Travel Peck, Sony Monica, God of War 2, and a new IP by Cory Barlog. Naughty Dog, The Last of Us 2 Factions, The Last of Us 1 Remake, production of new IP possibly, Gorilla, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, new shooter, Insomniac, Spider-Man 2, Ratchet & Clank. What are they doing? Yeah, exactly. What I mean is almost all Sony studios, or at least the bigger ones, are making 2 IP per studio. Yep, that's what we talked about earlier. Do you think Sucker Punch Bend, Media Molecule, Asobi will do the same? Okay, so the first part we talked about, right? How Sony's kind of, it appears, going to a 2 game per studio strategy. Now let's break down these particular ones. Okay. Sucker Punch, possibly. I'm going to say no, because I think they're going to be so focused on that sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. There's no doubt that's what they're doing next, okay? Now, when I say a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, I don't necessarily know that it's set in Tsushima. I don't necessarily know that it will even have, the same characters as the first game. But they're going to do, I can guarantee you, a follow-up to that game. So maybe it's a Ghost of something else, right? Another area of Japan telling a bit of a different story. I could totally see that. But it's going to be some sort, and maybe it is a direct sequel, right? Hard to know. But there's going to be some kind of Ghost of, Samurai Japan game coming. So I think they're so focused on that. My guess is they don't have a second new IP there yet, but I could be wrong. And then, who do we got next? What am I missing here? Okay, Bend. No. Nope. Well, yes and no. We know Bend is helping Naughty Dog with The Last of Us Part 2's multiplayer thing. And when I say Part 2's multiplayer, it's not a mode. It's like a separate game, it sounds like. So we know Bend's doing that. And then we also know that that they have a new game in development, right? We just found that out from Jason Schreier. So technically they have 2 games in development there, but one of them they're just like an assist studio on, right? They really have one core game. And I don't think they're going to spin up a second one, especially after what happened with this whole Days Gone fiasco, right? They're going to be focused on that one game. Media Molecule, I could actually see having 2 games in development. I don't know, but I could actually see that. And why would I say that? Because the studio head came out recently and said that Sony is staffing Media Molecule up. And then also Media Molecule is the kind of team that they could easily have a big giant AAA game in the works and also like a smaller side project, because they're the kind of studio that loves to be like super creative and do super weird things. So Media Molecule I could see, right? I could see them having a big AAA, that's most of the focus of the studio, and then also like a smaller creative side weird thing also going. So I'd say that's potential. Yeah, you could see 2 games from them maybe. And Asobi, which is Sony's Japan, no, they're just not big enough. They're going to only have 1, I'm pretty sure. After they got staffed down, I just don't think they have enough people to make 2 games. Paul Mayhofer here. Hey, Benji, I hope you're doing good. I hate to be asking again, but is there anything at all regarding Elden Ring? Looks like it. I'm hoping for E3, but it's hard to keep the spirit up. So here's what I can say, Paul, and this isn't insider info, but GameStop apparently started getting marketing materials for Elden Ring. I can tell you, as somebody that worked at GameStop for 6 years, right? I spent 6 years at GameStop working there. This was a while ago, though, so I don't know how much things have changed, but I did work there for 6 years. Typically speaking, when you started getting new marketing materials, that also meant something was around the corner, right? Whether that's going to be new trailers, new re-reveals, something. If you're sending marketing, that costs money, okay? Printing materials, shipping those materials to stores, paying someone on your staff to take time out of their day to set it up. Typically, if you have marketing materials going out, it means something's on the way to drive pre-orders, right? So that would make me think, Paul, yes, that Elden Ring is coming. Yep. I still doubt Elden Ring is this year, but I think, Paul, you're going to see Elden Ring. Yes, by E3, I truly think so. Okay, I really think you will. I think you'll see Elden Ring by E3. Kostas here. Hello, Kostas. Good to see you. Benji, do you think we could see God of War Ragnarok launch early in 2022 and Spider-Man late 2022? Can these 2 alone make 2022 Sony's biggest year ever? What if GT7 and Final Fantasy 16 launch that year too? Yeah, there's definitely potential for that. So God of War, I still think is going to get delayed out of this year, but I actually think that God of War is going to make the fiscal year. And why do I say that? As I mentioned at the very start of this chat, which probably a lot of people there in chat now didn't see, Sony is forecasting this coming fiscal year. Keep in mind, their fiscal year is just starting. So even though the calendar year ends at the end of December, their fiscal year will not end until the end of March 2022, right? The very end of March 2022, that's when their fiscal year will end. And they're forecasting PlayStation games, their first-party games, to generate more money than last year. And last year had The Last of Us Part 2, which was the biggest launch ever for a PlayStation studio. It had Ghost of Tsushima, which was the best-selling new IP that Sony has ever developed. It had Spider-Man Miles Morales, which we know sold, well over 5 million copies during the fiscal year and was a huge success. And then you had a lot of other stuff, right? Like Demon Souls and like other, you had the Sackboy game. So it was a big year, okay? Last year was a huge year for PlayStation exclusives. And they're forecasting this one to be even bigger. Now, with a $10 increase on your games, of course, that is going to generate more revenue in and of itself. But I don't think that Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, and Horizon, I do not think, even with $70 price tags, that's enough to be bigger than Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us, and Spider-Man Miles Morales. I would not forecast that. So if they're expecting more money, I think God of War is going to hit this fiscal year. I think it's going to get delayed out of 2021, and we're going to probably see it March of 2022. I think it's going to squeak in right at the end there. That's going to be my prediction for that game, February or March 2022. So if you get that, then Spidey in 2022 is not impossible, actually. Yeah, that could happen. And GT7, yeah, that could all happen. And Final Fantasy 16, yes. Costas. Yeah, I mean, calendar 2022 might be the biggest year ever for PlayStation. Yeah, it could be. Potential's there. We have a super chat that just dropped at 2 from Highlander001. Thank you so much, Highlander. $2 super chat saying, your favorite kind of cake? Asking for a friend. You know, for me, my favorite kind of cake is chocolate. All right, I'm a chocolate cake kind of guy. That said, though, I am gluten-free now. So it'd have to be a gluten-free chocolate cake, okay? I had to stop eating gluten. I have, like, apparently a family history of not handling gluten. So I've had all kinds of issues throughout my life, and I finally narrowed it down to gluten allergy. So, yeah, I'm one of those guys, right? Everyone jokes about the soft millennials that can't eat gluten, right? I'm sure you've all seen those memes. I'm one of them. I'm that soft millennial that can't eat gluten. But chocolate cake, yeah, chocolate cake. All right, how long have we been going? I'm going to still go for like half an hour. So, I mean, I still got time here, y'all. I still got time. It's a great chat. We've been over 100 most of this chat. I can do another 30 minutes. Doesn't mean y'all have to stay for another 30, but if you want to stay for another 30, I'm going to go for another half an hour. My stream's usually around there, right? Hour 15, hour 20, so we wouldn't be pushing it that much longer. Sounds PB7, could NetherRealm Studios really be making a Marvel fighting game next? What are the odds, you think? So for anyone that missed this, it looks like that NetherRealm, known for Mortal Kombat and Injustice, there are rumblings that they may be developing a Marvel fighting game. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I'm stoked out of my mind for this if it's true. I love NetherRealm Studios games, basically because they pump up their content for single player so much. Okay, so I want this rumor to be true. I will say, however, the fighting game community appears to be very salty over this idea from the little bit that I have seen. Because as we all know, there are so many people that love the old school Marvel games from Capcom. And as we all know, NetherRealm Studios games play completely different than that. So I've seen some people very salty, right? They want a new Marvel vs. Capcom game. They don't want a NetherRealm Studios, Marvel game. But for me as a consumer, yeah, sign me up. I love Injustice. I love Mortal Kombat because those are fighting games I can buy, play single player, and get so much content out of, right? They have awesome campaign stories usually for their games that are very beefy. They have a ton of robust single player offerings that you can do a ton of on your own. And as we've seen, NetherRealm Studios fighting games completely obliterate every other fighting game in sales other than Smash Bros, right? The only thing that's bigger than NetherRealm in sales for fighting games, it's Smash. So it makes sense to me why Marvel would want to do this. They are owned by WB, though, who owns DC, which makes things a little weird. But I hope this is true, Silenced. I hope this is true. I will buy the heck out of a NetherRealm Studios fighting game from Marvel. I'd buy the heck out of it. All right. Costas, hi Benji. Halo 3 sold 8 million units in just 3 months with only 17 million Xbox 360s out there. PS5 should be at over 18 million by the end of the year, so how many copies do you think Horizon Zero Dawn 2 can sell? Well, Horizon also has the advantage of being cross-gen, right? That game's going to be on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, so the install base it has to launch on is gargantuan. So here's what we know, right? We know the original game at time of release was the fastest selling new IP ever for PlayStation. Fast forward a couple years and Ghost of Tsushima takes that crown from Horizon. But it's also worth noting that Ghost of Tsushima did have a bigger install base to launch on than Horizon. I'm not telling you that Ghost wouldn't have launched bigger even on a smaller install base. I'm just saying it did have that advantage, right? There was more PlayStation 4s out there when that launched than Horizon did. So Forbidden West is going to be huge. That franchise has grown so much since it was a brand new IP, right? It sold well over 10 million units. We don't really know how much more because it's been a long time since we've had a sales update, but right? It's far over 10 million units. How much can Forbidden West sell? Man, it's going to be competitive. Put it this way. Its launch, as long as it's good and not a complete disaster, which I don't see any scenario where it is, its launch is going to be comparable to the biggest PlayStation exclusives ever. Yes. So expect that 3 to 4 million range in 3 days. I really think so. Get ready to see something comparable to those Spider-Man and God of War and The Last of Us numbers. Am I telling you it's going to flat out break the record? I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's going to be in that ballpark. Yes, it will be in that 3 to 4 million units in 3 days range. Yes, that's going to happen. 100%. All right, I'm going to start to pull questions from people that have not gotten any questions this chat yet, okay? That's going to be kind of my focus right now. Ryan Thompson, what are your thoughts on Titanfall 2's player base going up 650% in 2 days? Yeah, a couple things here, Ryan. First of all, we saw it shoot up the Steam bestseller charts because it had a sale on it. And now we're seeing, now that the next season of Apex Legends is introducing Titanfall elements into the story for Apex and into the universe, a huge lift, right? I think it was a 1-2 punch. I think it was that game going on sale, and then also all that. Y'all, Apex Legends is massive. It has over 100 million total players lifetime. It's huge, right? It's one of the biggest battle royales ever of all time, right? It's obviously not as big as Fortnite, and it's a little bit like, in terms of like launch aligned, it's behind Warzone. Warzone also just crossed 100 million players recently, but it's up there, right? It's in your like top, I don't want to say 3 because we don't really have an update on PUBG, I don't think, in a while, but you get what I'm saying. It's near the top, one of the biggest ones. And getting even a fraction of those people interested in Titanfall is going to boost up Titanfall 2 as well. So my hope for it, Ryan, is that this means we'll get a Titanfall 3 eventually. I think one day it will happen. I get asked this a bunch because so many people love Titanfall, right? Myself included. All the time I hear people say, is there going to be a Titanfall 3? Are we going to get Titanfall 3? One day, I think it will happen. I'm not confident that's in development right now, though. I think they're so focused on Apex Legends. And this is just a guess, I don't currently think they're making Titanfall 3, but I hope, right? If Titanfall 2 just keeps legging, keeps selling, word of mouth keeps being positive for years and years, they can't ignore it forever. So hopefully, yes, hopefully one day we get that Titanfall 3. Blanco 718. How many copies do you see Returnal selling in the first 2 months? Well, Blanco, what I've always said for Returnal, and I don't know Sony's, I don't know PlayStation's expectations on this game, right? I don't know the exact budget of this game. So this is just me going off gut instinct, gut feeling, watching the market, looking at trends, that kind of thing. My point of view has always been, if Returnal can sell over 2 million in its lifetime, I would think that that should be considered a success. Now, Sony, we have no idea. Maybe Sony really thinks this game's going to sell over 5 million units. They might expect that. But the reason I say 2 million is because, like I've mentioned before, Housemarque is not a studio known for AAA. The genre of roguelikes are not known for being like gigantic sellers. Yes, we see a few. We see Hades break out, but it's not known just by and large, like it's a first-person shooter. These games just are giant. However, it is a third-person shooter roguelike, and we know people like third-person shooters. So I think within the first month, I'm not really sure. I think you can probably do 1 million, honestly. I mean, I really think so. PlayStation fans are really energized. They need something to play in terms of exclusives. I think you're going to see 1 million in the first month. I really think so. The question is going to be what it sells after that. Anything over 2 million, in my opinion, 2 to 3 million, gravy, right? But who knows? Here's the thing. Let's just do some math, right? Okay, let's do some math. This game was in development. Pre-production started almost exactly 4 years ago. Sounds like full production was about 3 years, right? So 4 years counting some of the early pre-production. 3 years whenever you count like full-scale production. They staffed up to 75 devs, right? Dev team is 75 people. This is not going to count outsourcing, main dev team. 75 people is what developed this game. By AAA standards, this game has to be on the cheap end, okay? A lot of AAA games, the development team sizes of these studios is in the multiple hundreds, okay? Hundreds of people. This is less than 100, 75. The development time frame, not super long. 4 years might sound long, including pre-production. It ain't that long. For example, Horizon Zero Dawn took 6 years, okay? That was a 6-year development cycle for Horizon, and that was with hundreds of devs. So this game was not, no matter what, it might be AAA, but we're not talking this was like a $200 million, $150, even $100 million production, right? This is going to be on the cheaper end of AAA. So my hope is Sony kept their expectations fairly realistic, right? That they didn't go out there and be like, listen, you know, Housemarque, you need to sell 5+ million of this game or it's a disaster. 2 million, anything over that, gravy in my boat. Denu, will Microsoft buy more studios? Yes. Yep. They're looking. I can tell you that. I know 100% that they are. What studios those are going to be, how many they're going to be, when they're going to be, I don't know. Are Microsoft looking to buy more studios? Yes. Yep. They are looking. They are on the hunt. They will acquire more teams. I have no idea how many more, though, and I have no idea if you're going to see that in the next year or in the next 3 years. But yes, they're going to acquire more studios. Yes. Sorry, I'm just trying to go through and pick out people that haven't gotten questions yet. Man, sorry. I'm trying to go through here. I know there's dead air right now. Pio's in chat. What is up, Pio? Pio White Wolf, Benji Hype. Pio Hype, what is up? Ooh, this is a fun one. Biothin. Biothin here. Sales expectations for Life is Strange 3. I think that this game's going to do really well. I really do. Now, here's the thing. You're going to see some people say, well, this game is like way more expensive than normal for Life is Strange, right? This is a $60 game. But here's the thing, Biothin. This game is all episodes included on day one, and it's not spread out. I think that you actually see the biggest launch ever for a Life is Strange game. Yep, that's right. Even though it's not starting... Well, first of all, beating the first game's launch is going to be fairly easy because that game kind of like ramped up its success, right? Before that game came out, it was not like a super hyped game, right? Then a bunch of people played that first episode or whatever, fell in love with it, right? I'm one of them. I love Life is Strange. Fell in love with those characters, you know, loved the first game. Then they got, you know, Before the Storm and then Life is Strange 2. However, I think, like I've mentioned before here on chat, there's a lot of data that points to a lot of people wait when these episodic games come out. They wait to buy them, right? They wait until they go on sale. They wait until all episodes are out so they can just experience it at once. This, you're going to get them all day one. You get, literally, this game comes out, all episodes are out day one. You also have the advantage if you buy like the deluxe or ultimate edition, you get the remakes for free bundle. When I say free, you're still paying, but you get them bundled in, right? You're not buying anything separate. It's all one package. I think you see the biggest Life is Strange launch ever. Yeah, biggest one. What that's going to mean in units, I'm not sure. And what it's going to mean legs, like, is this going to all time be the best-selling Life is Strange? You know, who knows? Quality is going to be a big part of that. But launch, I think it'll be the biggest. Vasco Cruz here, excited for the state of play later today. They said they're showing 2 indies alongside Ratchet and Clank. Which do you bet on those being? Vasco, I am very hyped for state of play, okay? That's coming up here not too long from now. Ratchet, that new trailer looked mind-blowing to me. Like, I mean, the visuals for this game, this is the most next-gen looking game on consoles I have seen by far, okay? That footage that they showed in just that trailer, dude, the quality was absurd, okay? Demon Souls looked amazing. I think this looks better, okay? I really do, in terms of just technically speaking. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see Ratchet and Clank. In terms of the indies, I don't know what both will be, but I have a strong feeling one of them might be Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Could be wrong, but keep in mind, Kena is coming up, right? It's April 29th now. We're at the very end of April. We're about to go into May. And Kena comes out in August. So I would think that they're going to keep that hype train and keep that marketing train going. That game has tracked massive for an indie game before launch. So I think they want to keep that ball going. So, and we haven't really seen like a new gameplay blowout for Kena in a long time, right? All the trailers we've seen for that game have really been focused on like just cinematics and showing quick hits of gameplay. Maybe we're going to see more gameplay for Kena. That would be one that I would expect. JCat saying, don't forget to hit that like button, folks. Yes, I don't shout this out all the time because I don't like to beat people's heads with it, right, and drive you nuts. But if you like doing these live chats, make sure you hit the like button. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It helps people find my channel. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, right? Turn on those notifications so you know whenever my chat goes live. We do one of these chats every single week. So I've been getting tons of new Twitter followers lately. So if any of you are from my new Twitter following, hit that subscribe button. Every single week we do this chat. Ashu Neji saying 10 million Halo Master Chief Collection players. Yeah, it's insane, okay? 10 million, like I mentioned earlier. That did not come out on Steam until December 2019 was for Steam. 10 million is crazy, okay? Anyone that says Halo is dead, y'all, Halo is still a juggernaut. Now, is Halo necessarily as big as it was in its peak Halo 3 days? You know, I would say no, but Infinite has the potential to get back to that because Halo is still huge, okay? Maybe it ain't at its peak, but it's still a monster, okay? It is still a monster. PlayStation Talks saying Xbox won't ever give numbers because that butt whooping looks worse when numbers come in, LOL. No, actually, you're wrong on that. So, was that true in the past? Yes. So the reason that Microsoft very originally stopped reporting on numbers was, yeah, because Xbox was not in a great spot, right? Because they used to be a lot more public about this stuff. Then they did start hiding a lot more data, and that was, yes, right around the time that they were in a lot of trouble. But PlayStation Talks, like, listen, I know fanboys, and I'm not saying you're one, I'm saying in general, fanboys don't want to hear that other consoles are doing well. I can literally flat out tell you that the Xbox division is doing very well, okay? Are they as big as PlayStation? No, not even close, right? There's still actually a huge gap there in terms of how much revenue and how much profit. But Xbox is in no position that they need to hide anything, okay? Xbox is literally doing better right now than it's ever done. And I'm going to follow up on this, right? I usually don't blast people on here, but come on, okay? PlayStation Talks. Sony, 25 billion. Xbox, 13 billion. LOL says enough. Okay, listen. not everything. If you want to do this well, okay, and this is what this chat's about, right? So people that come on my chat, people that come and watch my chats, people that want to interact and they want to talk with me, usually they want to see the industry and they want to see the business as a whole. Does every company have to be number one to be successful? No, okay, they don't. In fact, if you wanted to get technical, you could also say, okay, well, Switch is vastly going to outsell PlayStation 4, and everyone talks about how big of a success PlayStation 4 is, okay? You get what I'm saying at. It's not about console wars, okay? It's about looking at each business and seeing if each business is successful or if each business is failing and performing poorly. Sony is doing absolutely incredible. Nintendo is doing very incredible. Xbox is back on the right trajectory. They were in a very bad spot just a few years ago, right? A few years ago, this sort of discussion point would make more sense, but no, it just doesn't hold up nowadays, okay? Xbox is doing really, really well. We got a super chat drop in here. Benji with a 5. The big three are having record numbers. Yeah, literally, right? This is what we were just talking about. The big three are having record numbers. Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo next week. Is there a place for a new player? Tencent, Apple, or Amazon? Ooh, now this is where it gets tricky, okay? This is where it gets hard. So Tencent is a monster, right? So, but is Tencent going to like make a console? I don't think so, right? You know, so Tencent I'm going to count as separate, right? Because they're their own thing, doing their own thing. But Apple or Amazon would be a player that I could see trying to like really break in, right? In terms of not just being a publisher, but like, you know, a console eventually or something, or, you know, streaming platforms like we've seen with Luna, or like what we saw Google try with Stadia. I think that is much harder and much more difficult than what we're talking about with Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, because they have built up those install bases. They've built up that fan base. They have so long in this industry, right? They've had a lot of learning things. So Apple and Amazon, do they have the money? Do they have the capital? And let's keep in mind, Apple is a juggernaut when it comes to gaming when you include mobile, right? They are actually one of the biggest in the entire industry when you talk mobile. But I get what you're saying, Benji. We're talking about, you know, the stuff that we're used to discussing. PC games, console games, that kind of thing. I just don't see it, right? I don't see it. I don't even think that Luna is going to be successful for Amazon. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe in a couple years we come back to this chat, someone points it out and is like, Benji, look how wrong you were about Luna. I totally could be, but I just don't think so. As big of a success as Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo are finding, keep in mind how much work it took for them to get here. Sony and Nintendo have been here forever, right? Very long time, generations after generations. They've built up that audience. You know, Microsoft has been here a while now too as well, and they're just now really hitting that record footing, right? It took a long time. Yeah, the 360 was successful, but up until Series X and S, that was actually more the outlier. The original Xbox wasn't a huge success. The Xbox One wasn't a huge success. So really they were like batting 1 for 3 in terms of like big successes. So they're just now getting to that spot. Like Apple or Amazon, if they're going to break out in terms of outside of mobile type things, they better be in for the long haul because it's going to take a long time, okay? You're not going to just instantly break out and next year be a huge success. You're going to be sitting here for years and years and years and years of commitment. So... and that's a tall thing to ask for these kinds of companies, right? Apple and Amazon already have such gigantic financial success on their own, right? Doing the things that they already do. The thing is Microsoft really wanted to like compete in the living room. That's like literally why the Xbox system exists, right? For other things too, but like really a core part of their strategy was at the time they wanted to move into that taking over the living room, right? They already had the PC, but they saw things like PlayStation and other companies in that living room space, and they wanted to move into that. Clearly, we've evolved beyond that point now, but yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. Mariano Pampa getting in a $10 super chat right here at the end because I'm almost done, right? I'm almost done. I'm just going to take a few more questions and then I got to go. So thank you so much for the 10 super chat, Mariano Pampa, saying, hey, Benji, just wanted to show support, man. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you so much. Always enjoy what you have to say. Really enjoyed the industry perspective you did with Eins. I think that's how you pronounce it, right? I don't want to get wrong on that because I consider him my friend, and I'm pretty sure it's Eins, right? I do not want to get that wrong. Or Ains. I don't think it's Eins. I think it's Eins. Such a unique name, right? It's not one you see all the time. Much more success, brother. Thank you for the incredibly kind comment, Mariano Pampa. Thank you for the support. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about that Industry Perspectives podcast. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Mariano Pampa. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Okay. Just a couple more, like 2 or 3 more, and then I gotta bounce. Diagazo here saying, don't pay attention to people like that. This is about earlier. I'm not going to spin off. I want to explain why I did it. He's probably a troll, and even if he's serious, just wants attention. Yeah, I'm not trying to be negative to that user, okay? So don't take that way. You know, if you're still watching this, I think it was PlayStation Talks. I just want to, I see this kind of discussion all over the place. And so I try to, whenever I talk about that kind of thing, I'm trying to keep it respectful. I'm trying to kind of like point, because a lot of people don't sit there and read business and sales all the time, right? So I really just wanted to like put that perspective out there and give my opinion on it. But no one take that as a negative towards that person. It's all good. It's all good. So many people in chat saying hi. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone that I have that's saying hi, that's being super kind. I'm getting tons of those. Hello, 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 hello. I'm going to take like 2 more questions, then I got to go. Here's a quick one. I'll just quick hit this. The Biglow 25 saying, what do you think of a new Star Wars IP coming from Xbox? So there was that rumor that went around that there's a Mandalorian game in development. I have no idea if the rumor is that it's from Xbox or somebody else. Here's the thing I will say first of all. If that is true, it makes perfect sense. Mandalorian's a massive show, and I think anyone that's even watched 2 episodes of that show, one of your first thoughts is this would make a perfect video game, right? I mean, literally, you're a Mandalorian, getting bounties, hunting down bad guys, you know, upgrading your armor. I mean, it literally almost feels like an action RPG when you're watching the show. So a Mandalorian game makes all the sense in the world. So yeah, I don't know if that's rumored to be coming from Xbox or somebody else, but somebody's got to be making that, right? Put it this way. If someone's not, it's crazy. It is crazy that no one has pitched a current Mandalorian game. If you're a publisher, if you're working at a publisher and you watch this, because I know some publishers and developers do, get on that Mandalorian game. Get on it, okay? One of y'all need to lock that thing up. And in terms of outside of that, you know, they could, right? Just like Insomniac, which is a first-party studio, is making a Marvel game. Microsoft absolutely could. The question is going to be if they pursue it and if they want to put one of their teams onto it, right? Because that's the other factor you have to say. Do we want to have one of our teams, you know, dedicated to a Star Wars game? I would say it's not a bad idea, right? Star Wars is a huge IP. Look at how big Battlefront 2 sold. Look at how well Star Wars Squadron sold. Look at how big Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was. That game was huge, right? That was a huge success for EA. So wouldn't be a bad idea. Do I think they'll do it? I don't know, but it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea, no. Okay. 1 or 2 more. 1 or 2 more. RRD saying, would you be more excited for God of War or Halo Infinite? Not a fanboy war question, just curious. That's honestly like picking between 2 children for me, so I can't do it. I can't do it. There's certain games I could, right? There's certain games, but that particular one, I actually can't. I know a lot of people are going to be more excited for God of War, and I totally get that because I completely think that the newest God of War was a higher quality bar than any of the new Halos, right? Like, I think that new Cory Barlog God of War was better than Halo 4. That was better than Halo 5. like flat out better than any of the current Halo games. But I do love Halo, and I'm hoping Infinite's good. So that's hard for me. That's hard for me. That's like picking between two of my own children. Gotta go fast. Benji-Sales, when do you think we get Sony's E3 type show, before or after E3? I think it's going to be after. Okay. I think that's going to be after that first, like, what are the dates? Like June 11th or 12th is when E3 kicks on. I think it's going to be after that. That's going to be my guess. I'm going to guess they're going to target late June. Late June. Could be wrong, though. Maybe they want to go before so that they're out there before the E3, marketing bonanza. But I think it's going to be after. I think it's going to be after that. Yeah, maybe like a week or two after E3. Okay, last one here from Bradley Ellis. What is up, Bradley Ellis? I don't know if this is actually Bradley Ellis from Easy Allies or not. If so, it would make my day. But if not, still awesome. But if this is Bradley Ellis from Easy Allies, listen, you have no idea how much it means to me that you're in my chat. Easy A, I'm going to go off tangent here, and I apologize if this is not actually Bradley Ellis from Easy A, and you just happen to have the same name. But I'm going to go off on something really quick, y'all. Easy Allies helped save my life, and maybe that sounds crazy, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you haven't watched Easy A stuff, there was a time in my life where I was in a really bad spot, right? I've kind of openly talked about my depression and things like this before, but right now I'm in a much better spot. But if, a few years ago was not that way. I was in a really hard spot. And Easy Allies and Kinda Funny literally helped save my life, right? They really helped me in the darkest period of my life watching their stuff. So if any of y'all have a content creator out there that you love and respect, if you have someone out there that's helped you through tough times, make sure to let those people know, okay? Make sure to just let them know. Give them that shout out. Be like, dude, you don't have to go into details. I'm not telling you go out there and put your public depression out for everyone to see, because I know it's a tough thing to deal with. But yeah, let them know, because, dude, Easy A and Kinda Funny helped save my life. Okay, so anyways, back to the question. Bradley Ellis, what are your sales predictions for Resident Evil Village? I think it could be one of the biggest RE games of all time. Yes, I agree. I absolutely agree with you. So it's going to depend, of course, like we always say, on quality. But let's look at some of the recent trends, okay? Resident Evil 7 is on pace to be over 10 million here not too much longer, right? It's going to hit that 10 million barrier, which is crazy, right? That's huge. Right now, for a single SKU, it's actually the best selling of all of the Resident Evil games. Once you add multiple ones together, though, like re-releases and stuff, you get to things like Resident Evil 5 and 6 being bigger than it, because it had that original release, then it had the gold edition, and then it had, ports on multiple other systems afterwards. So once you add it all together in Resident Evil 4, they get bigger. But as a single release, Resident Evil 7 is the biggest. And then if you look at Resident Evil 2 Remake, it also sold absurd. And look at how high the hype has been online for, Resident Evil Village, right? I don't think I've ever seen a lead up that has been this big for a Resident Evil game in terms of online hype. So if they deliver that quality, I agree. Yeah, I think Resident Evil Village is going to be near the top, in those top few games, because I think it can be bigger than Resident Evil 7, and Resident Evil 7 was a complete juggernaut. So, yeah, crazy. Okay, everyone, I got to call it there. I got to call the chat there. Thank you so much. Thank you for another legendary chat. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all the questions. There was a million of them. There's so many awesome people in chat. Two things really quick before I bail. Make sure you hit that like button if you like doing these chats, because it helps people find my channel. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Hit that bell so you know when we go live. We do one of these every single week. I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for all the support lately. It's been crazy. I think we're up to 22,000 followers on Twitter now, and I was at 20,000. It feels like just 2 weeks ago, and somehow it's already over 22. So thank you for all of the crazy support, the crazy kindness y'all give me every single day. We will be back next week, everyone. Stay safe, play some games, and I'll catch you either on Twitter or YouTube soon. Bye, everyone. Bye. Have a great day. Bye. 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 Bye.